Hi, this is Majinoni, and here's my review for the manga Berserk. Viewer requested it, so I thought I'd try to get this one out of the way before I forgot it. It's written by Kentaro Miura. It started back in, I think, December 1990, and so it's been going on for about 10 years now. And there's 35 volumes printed in Japan. In the US, it's up to volume 34, and that's put out by Dark Horse DMP. Now, as you can see, there's parental advisory warnings, so it's definitely an adult title. It does contain scenes of graphic violence, there's nudity, there's, I guess you can say, there's some extreme or very graphic sexual situations that do come up, so you do have to be warned about that. Now, the story of Berserk basically centers around there's three key characters, Guts, Griffin, and Casca. It takes place during medieval times, like in a mystical world, and story starts off around Guts. Guts is basically, he started off as a lone orphan swordsman, and he eventually gets hooked up with Griffin, and Griffin is basically what he wants to become. He wants to become like a king, and he formed a mercenary group called the Band of the Hawks, and through time they actually develop a great reputation, and he starts rising in the ranks of nobility, which really pisses off the nobles, because here's a commoner, a peasant who formed a mercenary group, and now he's basically sitting at the same dinner table as them, and they don't think he's worthy of it. Now, Griffin sees something in Guts that he has to have, and by that I mean he knows that Guts is going to be critical to his goals, and they have a very unusual friendship. And by that I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers away or ruin it, but it's very different. It's not that it's a sex thing, but it's very weird. Now, the third person, Casca, she was a young girl that was saved by Griffin, and she became a very good swordswoman, and she basically has feelings for Griffin, but Griffin doesn't show those feelings back to her. Now, in comes Guts, and Guts likes Casca, but Casca looks at Guts as you're a dirty dog, why would I want to be with you? But then Guts does things that show there's something a little bit more to him than just that, so she's kind of torn between the two men. Now, through time, the first parts of the story, you see traditional soldiers, battles, things like that, but Guts finally decides, I helped you achieve your goal. Now it's my turn to see what's in life for me. And once that happens, that's when things take a turn for the worst. And it's basically a time of darkness. After that moment of darkness happens, that's when the demons, that's when monsters, magic, fairies, elves, all that kind of stuff comes into play. And from that moment on, Guts is now on a quest for vengeance, and I'm really looking forward to the moment where Guts gets his revenge, because what happens during that time of darkness, that person deserves exactly what they get, and I know that what they're going to be getting is a sword right through their chest type of thing, or at least beheaded. One of those two things has got to happen. Now, when I show you some of the artwork, I just want to give you the heads up. It's going to be from one of these volumes. It's not one of the earlier ones, but the art style hasn't changed. These are just 3 volumes I just grabbed off my shelf. Now, there's no spoilers, but I think there's things in the book that actually show a good representation of, the artwork. Now, let's see here. Now, as you can see in this 2-page spread here, there's a lot of stuff that's going on here. You have, lead soldiers of, monsters. You have ships in the background, and while the ships aren't extremely well detailed. If you look at the hatching that's done, all in the background, it gives this thing a very unique feel to it. It's a feel of smoke, fog, fire, things like that, and it does something that a traditional, like if you were to show fire would show. It gives it a very, I say, a different feel. If you look at the monsters in the front here, they're all detailed. They're not, for example, wearing cheap helmets. You can see their horns, you can see the armor, you can see their weapon detail. There's very little shortcuts that are going on here. And like when you look at a page like this, there's an incredible amount of detail that's going into the ship. The railings, the wood here. I mean, this guy is spending an insane amount of time getting this book drawn. Even if, like, when you look here, like, granted, you can see some of these monsters look a little bit more solid, but when you look like people like here, you can still see they got detailing, and he's not really cheating out the viewer. Even a page like this would take forever to draw, and it's really like I can appreciate this, because it's just like when you're looking at the pages, you're just staring at it, going, what else is going on here? Because there's so much going on. Like, yeah, you can just kind of scan it over, but why scan it when you can look at it and really appreciate everything that's going on, type thing. Overall, I would highly recommend Berserk. Berserk is definitely a manga for people who love, like, medieval fantasy stories, stories with lots of action, swordplay, things like that. Oh, by the way, that's Casca. It's just really, really good. Berserk is one of the few titles that I read immediately, or try to read as soon as I possibly can when I get them. Most of the other manga will sometimes sit 2-3 weeks, but Berserk I usually read within the first week. It's just really, the story is incredible. It's very, well, the characters themselves are simple. It's the simplicity in the situation that I can relate to, type thing. Especially Guts. Guts is just like your typical guy who just is a killing machine, though. And, who doesn't want to, if you're going to be playing like a game like Dungeons & Dragons or Final Fantasy or something like that, wouldn't you want to be that type of character, the type of character that carries the big sword and just cleaves through everything? And that's what Guts is. Overall, it's really, I can recommend it as long as, you're a boost of age to cover myself, or your parents buy it for you. If you have any comments or questions, just let me know. If you have any questions about Berserk, I'll try to answer them for you. Rate the video up or down, subscribe to the channel, and until next time.